This is Kanisha Grayson, founder and CEO of The Art of Applying. The Art of Applying helps people from all over the world get into the world's best grad schools with as much money as possible to pay for it. Today, we have our amazing client, Charanya, here to share her story, her advice, and her encouragement with all of you. Hi, Charanya.
Hi, Kanisha.
So today we're doing your interview via audio only. And that's because you did get some good results, but you've decided to work with us a second year to get some even better results. But let's hear those good results.
Sure, yeah. So I have been accepted to Georgetown, and I've also been accepted to UT Austin, both for MBA programs. And I've been waitlisted at the University of Michigan, the Ross School, again, another amazing program, for an MBA.
Awesome. Congratulations. And
Yeah.
I know we're already we've already decided to work together a second year. So really looking forward to that. So what I would love to have you share is as much of your profile stats as possible with everyone out there listening. They're going to want to know age, your cultural background, any sort of affinity groups you belong in, your test scores, what you studied in college, where you went to college, your GPA, just basically kind of the rundown so that they can be like, okay, well, that was her story. She worked with The Art of Applying, and perhaps, I could have similar results.
Sure. So I am Indian-American. I'm also LGBTQ. I went to college at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. My undergraduate degrees were in psychology as well as economics. I have a minor in philosophy. I am a little bit of an older applicant, as I'm 31, and that was also a concern for me throughout the application process. My primary background is finance. I've worked across banks such as Bank of America, and also in consulting firms doing strategy consulting such as KPMG and Deloitte. And right now I work for a payments company. So I've done all sorts of roles, and I have almost 8 years experience. So that's kind of my profile. As for my GPA, I had some personal stuff going on in undergrad, and I have a 2.58 GPA from undergrad. And currently, my test scores, GRE wise, I have a 159 verbal, on 153 quant, as well as a 5 out of 6 for the writing piece. So when we work together, again, for the second time around, that's one of the things that I'm really looking to also work independently to raise as well.
Excellent. Now, thank you for that rundown. And yeah, you definitely fall into that category of a wild card, and I really embrace all of my wild cards and my wounded warriors, people who don't have perfect GPAs, who don't have perfect test scores. And your story, I think, is particularly compelling because we're coupling, your ethnicity of being Indian American with very low GPA and out of range test scores. And I'm just so proud of you. And I think it's a testament to our program and your commitment to the process that we have the results that we do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Charanya, talk to me about how did you find The Art of Applying? When did you find us? And when you did find us, what resonated with you that made you reach out for a breakthrough call?
So I originally found The Art of Applying, I want to say spring or summer of 2018. It was through a Facebook ad, of all the things. And I think, I originally reached out and I found that the message sort of really resonated with me, not only because I felt, like I was also in the wounded warrior category, and that The Art of Applying would have a lot of experience working with profiles like mine. And I think another thing that really resonated for me was I wanted to work with a woman-owned business, a minority-owned business, and somebody who had had years of experience working with other minorities and other profiles like mine. And I think just if I may say so, Kanisha, your level of honesty at the outset about the fact that I was going to be a wild card, but that you liked wild card applicants and that you were used to them. I think that was really refreshing. And I think that that was a level of honesty that I needed at the outset to set very realistic expectations of myself going in.
Yeah.
Now, I do remember that because of other circumstances, work related, we couldn't work together, unfortunately, in the fall of 2018. So I think the recommendation from you and your consultant was, you know, take a year, kind of recoup from everything that's going on, come back next year and work with us. So I came back. As fate would have it, I signed up on the very last day, October 31st of 2019, I think it was, that I could to get into the round 2 cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have great timing. So it worked out really well. Would you like me to talk a little bit about the process and kind of how things worked?
I would love to hear what you thought the breakthrough call would be, and then what the experience was actually like for you.
Sure. So I think, you know, the breakthrough call, you know, all of the expectations are sort of laid out very clearly at the outset. Not only the pricing, but also the level of commitment and work that you're going to have to undertake in order to get the pardon me, the essays at the end and the results you want. So I think that was very helpful for me because I like having things very refreshingly transparent at the outset. And as far as the experience itself, it was interesting. So for me, I have never done anything in my life in 6 weeks. I mean, I think 2 hours to figure out what I want to eat. So really thinking about what I wanted out of my life, where I wanted my career to go, and also writing accordingly in the 6 weeks that we have in a sprint cycle. That was, I think, challenging, but it also, it pushed me to really put in a lot of thought and really you know, be mindful of my next steps. And I think it was really good that I had a support system in the form of the weekly Q&A calls, and in the form of the mindset coaches. And honestly, I even reached out to my consultant for support because I am the sort of person who gets deflated when I don't see immediate results.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this is not an immediate results sort of program. This is, you know, you work now really hard to see results, you know, 6 weeks or 1 month or a few months later, depending on when you're applying. So I think it was really useful to me. I think there's also a component of the program where it's called a green light submission. So by a certain date, you have to have your essays turned in and have a second set of eyes read through them, so you know that they're good to go and ready for submission to the respective schools. I thought that that was also really novel. I think that I also got a lot of use out of the essay editing calls on the weekends, as well as the test prep calls. I found that the tutor as well as the essay editor were also really knowledgeable and really helpful. I think they came at each essay that they saw and read from a place of empathy, because, you know, everybody's got such different experiences. And I think throughout this entire process, I actually also surprisingly made a lot of friends because, you know, I met a lot of people from different backgrounds and I networked with them, and, you know, we swapped tips and the names of admission committee members and just people they knew that they wanted me to talk to so I could get a better sense of an experience at a school. So I thought that was really good as well. And some of my closest friends now, I would say, are out of this program. So it's really neat how that all came together.
Charanya, that is amazing. I love that. And I was going to ask you if you hadn't brought that up, because I know you're one of the people who I feel has really benefited and contributed the most to the community and just making friends and networking with other clients. And to hear you say that some of your best friends are people that you met through the art of applying, that just means so much to me. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I talk to them, you know, all the time. We bounce ideas off of each other. Sometimes I'll go to them for a pick me up when I'm like, I don't really, you know, feel good about that application, or I don't really feel great about this piece of writing that I did. And, you know, they will tell me that, you know, I'm overthinking and I need to probably just take a breather, walk away, and come back to it. So it's been really nice. It's been really interesting seeing the caliber of people as well in the program, because, you know, for me, because I am a very untraditional applicant, I always appreciated the fact that really intelligent and brilliant people were also in this program, and they came to me for advice on a school, or because I had done something differently that they just didn't happen to think of at the time. And I really appreciate the fact that, you know, there's no hierarchy. Everybody is very approachable. You can really talk to anybody about any advice that you might need about a particular school. There's also a lot of resources even within the accelerator outside of the people that you meet, such as, you know, maybe you need to write a letter of intent, and there's, you know, a template for that. Maybe you want to ask a school for more scholarship funding because it's a make or break for you. There's a template and a resource for that. Maybe you want to talk to other alumni from the art of applying who got into a particular school because you want to learn more about a particular aspect of that school's experience. You know, there's an alumni list that you can reach out to or that you can use to reach out to a specific person for that. So there's a lot of really, I think, very thoughtfully put resources. And there's also a word count tracker, so you can make sure that you're really thinking about using your words when you know, submit an essay or a resume mindfully. So I think this is a very well-designed program for people like me who need to be sort of under pressure to write things, or else I procrastinate, and that's just a nightmare.
Yes, so much. Thank you. So beautifully said. So much of the program is designed to save you from yourself. So,
yes.
You know, you talked about the green light submission process, where a month before your school and scholarship deadlines, we're asking for your essays so that we can tell you if they're at, you know, green light, yellow light, or red light status. You know, we don't let you submit stuff to your consultants past, you know, 7 days before the deadline unless you know, pay an extra fee. And that is not because we're just trying to shake you down for money. It's because we want you all to go through this process in a sane, calm way. It's stressful enough. And so I love it when I hear clients, you know, appreciating that structure and those boundaries, especially because that structure and boundaries, the boundaries are going to exist in graduate school.
Right.
But not so much that structure. So we're just trying to really provide you that support to get you ready for, you know, high expectations, turning things in on time. You cannot submit a round 2 application, you know, 22 minutes after the round 2 deadline. It won't be accepted. It'll be a round 3 application. So we help save you from yourself.
Sure, yeah. And there's a lot of structure and resources, I feel, in the program. And then there are some things that you just have to stay on top of as a working professional. Like I kept, you know, I scheduled calendar invites for talking to students from those specific schools, or I kept track of, you know, round 2 deadlines and when the admissions decisions and things like that would come out. And I also have a folder full of research that I did for each school, especially the ones I knew would be a great fit for me program-wise. So, I mean, part of it, yes, like the program is going to help you, but you also have to put in the work to help yourself.
That's right. That is right. Okay, so I would love to hear your advice and encouragement for other LGBTQ applicants, your advice and encouragement for other Indian American applicants, and then your advice and encouragement for other applicants who might be older or have low GPA. So just kind of your different tribes.
Sure. So for other LGBTQI applicants, let me just say that I did not come out until 2014, and I'd spent a fair amount of my life, with the knowledge that I was not fitting in a certain box or a bucket. And I also felt that because I grew up in the South, that maybe whatever graduate school I chose would not respect my identity as well. I think that's absolutely untrue. I think that there are places wherever you go, grad school or not, that is going to take you for who you are and accept you for who you are, and really realize that the identity and who you are that you bring to the table is a strength, and you are honestly making making business school or whatever graduate program you're going to better. I will say this, all of the schools that I applied to and was really interested in, they were all very open and welcoming of my LGBTQIA identity. I will say particularly that one of the schools I actually got into, UT Austin, we had a happy hour. That's all we talked about. We talked about our different experiences, where we were coming from, and how we wanted to leverage our identity to give voice to a lot of the issues that we face as LGBTQ people. So I think, take heart that your identity is something that can make you really unique in an application, and really celebrate that and celebrate your journey, and even, condensing your journey in a positive way when you're applying to grad school. For Indian American applicants, I will say that, as an Indian person, just culturally, we're always held to a very high standard. For example, when I graduated high school, my parents were like, this is just high school, like, call me when you do grad school so that it's actually worth celebrating. So I know that as a community, we just have very high expectations, and that leads to a lot of, maybe a lot of pressure on ourselves. But just because we are Indian or Indian American, it doesn't tell the whole story of who we are. It's one facet. It's one foundation that definitely contributes, but it's not everything. It doesn't talk about, it's just one facet, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So definitely don't feel like if you're Indian American, it's going to put you at a disadvantage. And moving on, it's definitely not a disadvantage if you're Indian American with a low GPA. I know that our community definitely expects us to be very overachieving and, get all the top spots everywhere from high-ranking business schools. But believe me when I say that it's okay. It's okay to have mental health issues. It's okay to be a wounded warrior. It's okay to, just have some gaps in college that you can explain, because real life happens, and you don't have to apologize for it, but you do have to own up to the fact that, you're willing to do better, be better, and that you have moved on, evolved, and you are willing to show that graduate program the best version of yourself, and you want to also evolve through that program as well. So I think just being LGBTQ, being Indian American, and being like having a low GPA, like, take heart. These are just a few facets of your application. There are other things, such as your work history, your essays, your recommendations, your volunteer experiences, and things like that, that also matter. I mean, business schools are definitely going to look at it holistically. And I will say that yes, I am an older applicant. There was a part of me that even a few years ago felt, I really should apply to business school. I'm 27. I don't want to go if I'm too old. Well, I mean, that's just crap. Like, honestly, I applied this year because I felt that I was in a good place financially. I was in a great place, emotionally and mentally, and I felt that I had the maturity to apply and take on what business school is. But if I had gone a few years ago, I would not have been able to hack it, like, speaking quite frankly. So age is not an indicator of how successful you might be at business school. You might think that it puts you at a disadvantage, but it really doesn't. Everything in life is just, a series of choices that you make. And if you feel that you are ready to go to B school at 25, great. If you feel that you're ready at 30, wonderful. If you feel ready at 40, sure. Like, if that is where you are at that point in time, and you are ready to make that leap for business school or any other graduate program, then I encourage you to try it, because we have a very finite number of years, all of us on this earth, and you don't want to have any regrets about not trying. And I think that really encompasses this whole program is, taking a leap of faith on yourself and, like, letting others also believe in you. Sometimes believing in you more than you can believe yourself.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I think that's sort of my all-encompassing speech, where some of those things I felt were maybe hindrances, but they weren't. They just told another facet of my story. They spoke of 8 years of experience in finance, and they spoke of, honestly, numerous projects and leadership roles and mentorship opportunities that I'd taken. And that's not something that maybe a younger applicant would necessarily be able to say. I mean, my story also told, or my resume also told about how I can speak 6 languages, which is very, very rare, not trying to toot my own horn,
Yeah,
but I was, born in India, raised in Dubai, so I picked up languages and language skills along the way. And when we're living in a multicultural world, that's going to be really important. And that's also really important to business schools. So I feel like anybody who's listening to this should really take heart that they're in good hands, and that the things that they think will hold them back are not necessarily that big of a deal. And you can have multiple deal breakers and still get into great schools, great top 20, top 25, top 10 schools. And, definitely listen to your consultant, attend your mindset coach calls. Those are really helpful for people like me who need coaching at least once a week to be motivated. And, take as many notes as possible, like, have that hunger, have that thirst to learn as much as possible, and be humble throughout this whole process, because you don't know everything. These are obviously the experts. You might be an expert in your field, but you're certainly not going to be a buy-all, end-all subject matter expert in MBA and graduate school applications. And, if somebody tells you something just as a piece of advice, and, just take it for what it is, take it as a learning opportunity and not as a sharp criticism of who you are. Just be open to change and learning throughout this process. And before you know it, the 6 weeks will be up and over. And hopefully you'll be getting some great scholarship funding through some great graduate programs.
Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful. And that was so well said. You need to Charanya for Senate. So One thing I want to point out is Charanya keeps bringing up 6 weeks. So basically in the application accelerator, when you first come in, you're an application incubator. That's more of a hands-off, kind of a lower intensity part of the engagement where you're really, after your assessment call, where we lay out the game plan for working together, you're really focused on your test prep. And then the application accelerator part of the engagement, which is also the name of the program, that's 6 weeks long. And that's where you have priority on the weekly calls that we have with all our clients. That's when you can ask your consultant unlimited questions, and think of it as kind of the time when we're trying to download everything into your brain. And then after the 6 weeks, you still have access to your consultant. You can still come to the weekly calls. You're just not the priority on the weekly calls, and you're still working on your applications through submission. But that 6 weeks that Charanya is referring to are really the kind of intense, like, accelerator, right? Like, this is, you know, startup, you know, this is Charanya Incorporated, and we are, you know, putting her in an accelerator to help her make more progress in 6 weeks than a lot of applicants make in 2 or 3 years. And so that's what she's referring to. Okay, yeah. This was amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this program is definitely worth the money. I think that you and all of the people who work for you are just very collaborative. And I love the culture and environment that you've built, and I cannot think of any feedback that I would give. I mean, I think it's, you know, it's working well, and it gave me what I needed. And I'm happy to be working with you guys a second time around, and hopefully we will get additional funding from more schools. That's the dream. Yeah, but I would recommend you guys to anybody I know.
Oh, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our video. For more videos just like this, make sure you click subscribe. And if you want to work with us on your graduate school applications, visit us at theartofapplying.com or click on the link below in the description.